Hi, welcome to Cherie's weight loss journey. Today is the last day of November and it went by so fast, didn't it? Okay, so today we're off to work, you know. Again, we had to go in early, right? Put an hour of extra time, right? Because you can't call it overtime unless it's over 40 hours. Okay? So anyway, I woke up today. I took my A, B, C, and D vitamins. I have my protein drink and mixed with my collagen and fiber, so I can start the day off right. Because I had to get out earlier, I couldn't, do a full set of my lightweight exercises. But I did do a little warm up, got to get the old bones lubricated. And I got my lunch. For my lunch, I have some tuna fish mixed with eggs, mustard and mayo. And then I have a hot link. And I have a bag of taco tortilla chips along with some cheese that I plan to melt on them. And for snack, I have 3 turkey sticks. It's like beef jerky, except it's turkey. And then and then I brought me a few Quest bars. I can tell I'm gonna have a problem with this brownie flavor, because with the brownie flavor there's just no way I can eat it without some type of liquid. It's so dry. And it's not fudge, it's chocolatey. I'm like, because I like moist fudge brownies, right? And if it's a little gooey, then I like it, right? But if it's just dry, no, I don't. So anyway, I feel pretty refreshed. I turned on my seated heat seat today, hoping that it'll keep me warm, because the temperature was in the 30s, 38 when I woke up. Now it's saying it's 40 degrees out here, and it's no joke. That's a 60-degree difference from what we just experienced less than 2-3 months ago. Tomorrow is the new moon in Sagittarius, right? I'm going to have to, check out the planetary placements and see, where they are at determine how long they're going to be there. Set some goals for each of the houses that it affects on my chart. Yeah, and then here was something that I had reviewed this morning before I got out of bed. Was I went to the 4th verse in the first book of Genesis, right? And it was talking about the luminaries, right? And basically it had stated why the luminaries and the stars in the sky were placed there for our knowledge. And I'm like, oh snap, if you didn't really pay close attention, then you would believe what another philosopher has said in another book in the Bible. Because let me tell you something. There's a light and a dark in everything. Okay? In every single religion, they can twist what is said in a way that is contrary to the other side, right? I had watched a video where they were talking about Satanists, right? And these Satanists were basically reading the same doctrine, but they had put a spin on it, right? They spun it around and turned it upside down, right? And so I was watching a video where, back in the 60s, and they had came up with, the peace sign. And, they showed that the peace sign was the cross turned upside down, but also kind of a sexual representation. And I was like, oh, okay, never seen it that way, but once it was brought to my attention, I'll never look at the peace sign in the same way. I just won't. And then they were showing how certain celebrities are a part of this, satanic. Well, no, the celebrities are not really part of the satanic, right? They're more part of the Luciferian. Now, let me tell you something. There are big differences between the devil, Lucifer, and Satan. There are 3 separate and different entities. Then it brought to my attention that a third, right? It was like, a third of the angels followed these 3, angels who I guess one would have considered them to be archangels that fell to the earth, right? And then they pointed out that, a third is 33, right? A third is what? 0.3333, right? That's what a third is. And that's where, the Freemasons, they would achieve, the highest degree of masonry. That doesn't mean that they're the Grand Mason, but they achieved the highest level, which is a 33-degree Freemason. And I was like, okay, oh snap, okay. So that's one, they were showing all of these different correlations, right? On how these numbers are very significant. Right, and it just came to my mind that that the pi number is significant also. So I'm stating that, and then there's also like a good and a bad, even when it comes to Islam. In Christianity, you can basically, use the Book of Psalms to do spiritual warfare in your prayers, and Proverbs, Proverbs and Psalms, which is one of the reasons why, they're kind of put in there, but they're put in there, it seems, like they just threw it in there. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm starting to get an understanding, and here's the thing, I'm not putting down, religion, because, there's a lot of people who don't want to understand, spirituality right now, especially, the ones who were denied, spirituality, and then they told you that spirituality is religion, and that's your doorway, that's your gateway into spirituality, is religion. And if you're called to keep seeking knowledge, then you would, and you will. And some people, they're not, and that's why a lot of them, they don't get the true benefits that they possibly could, when they go to church or the mosque or any of these things, because probably they weren't open enough, and they weren't curious enough. So one of the things that was brought to my attention was because the liberal arts is a very hard industry to get into, and because the liberal arts require people to invest in things that are not tangible, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people who get into the liberal arts have a tendency, to be beguiled to get into energy energy harvesting, because that's how they can influence people to basically hand over their money, and tell them, well, what you just seen was worth X amount of currency. And I'm like, okay, right. That doesn't happen so much in, like, in a more practical business arena, right? So there are different kinds of people, who are rich. Now, a lot of people, they would say, oh, Donald Trump was one of those people. And I'm like, no, he really wasn't, because, they have made, his family invented ketchup, right? And ketchup is worldwide. Heinz ketchup, it's worldwide. And most people, they will not, they will not eat their French fries unless they have ketchup, and some people, they will not just eat any kind of ketchup. It has to be Heinz. So if you look at that alone, you can imagine, that, okay, so this is a person that, made their wealth off of something that's tangible, something that, is edible, right? We're not eating it with our eyes, although you might. But yeah, but getting back to what I was doing was making a comparison with, say somebody that's in the arts, or somebody that's a YouTuber, or somebody that's a musician. They have to, they don't have anything, tangible per se, unless, you're talking about people who, would buy a record, or buy a CD, or buy a download of their music, and a lot of times, the way that they have to get their music even out there for people to buy it is they have to they have to broadcast it on the radio, right? Even movies, they have to give a sampling, at least a trailer, and it's a very hard, a very, very hard industry to get into. And this is one of the reasons why, a lot of the people who are involved in the liberal arts also become a part of the Freemasons, because they figure, hey, we're artists, we'll stick together, we'll lend each other, a hand, a leg up, whatever you want to call it. And on the surface level, you have part of the people who are great with that, right? But then Um, underneath that, you have people who, will be like, well, I'm gonna pull on their sexual nature, and and that's where a lot of times they would get, creative, and they'll try to have, subliminal seductions, or they will, use the energy, harvested from, their sexual activity, and yeah, right? So that's a form of what they would call like sex magic. So another thing that I had reviewed last night was the book of the 10th chapter of Daniel in the Bible. And yeah, I can't even tell you. Yeah, it was appalling. It was appalling. And so I guess the book of Daniel, the 10th chapter, kind of will, tell you, the wicked things that people do to each other, and it's not everybody that does these things to each other, right? Let's keep it real. There are some things that some people, you couldn't pay them to do certain things to other people. And then you have the other side of that spectrum where there are people who would do wicked things and they will do it for free, for entertainment purposes. Okay? Whether they entertain you or they're entertaining themselves. So I was like, okay, that's very interesting. But like I said, it's my understanding that, we came down here, with the belief that we can get off of this, we can get through this lifetime with at least one of our virtues intact. Most of us. I believe all of us, right? It's just the ones that already know that, they've already, messed up all of their virtues, that they would, sadly enough, try to hold other people back from achieving the possibility of getting off of this planet with their virtues intact. Alright? The misery loves company syndrome. Yeah. They don't want to be left behind. They're not going to let you go forward without them. You better figure out some kind of way to bring them along too. And it's just like, it's not my decision. You already made your decision about it. Once you come to terms with, nobody's going to be held responsible for other people. Even if we wanted to be, we couldn't. Right? Because, we're here on this earthly plane, feeling as if, we can, change the law and change the future and, and all of these different things, especially if we feel like, we got enough people to collaborate with us. Right? And, with enough people collaborating, right, it could feel like that's reality, right? And some people will argue. I remember having that argument with my mother, right? The argument that I had with my mother was, just because everybody is doing something, doesn't mean that that's reality. Okay? Because in my perspective, reality is something that is consistent, indefinite. Realities are what I would consider to be natural truths, right? They're infinite, they're constant, but, she more or less had the idea that reality was more or less based off of popularity. Well, if it's so popular, then it's got to be true. If everybody's doing it, kind of, reasoning. Well, if everybody's doing it, then, this must be the way to do it. And this must be what needs to be done. Oh my God, this is ridiculous that they would ask people to come in early and then only have one way in. Let's find out. Because there's a line all the way back here to get in. Right? And I guess we can't figure out what we need to do. What the hell? I don't know what that was about, but that's a lot of traffic for 6 o'clock in the morning. And making it challenging for people to get in and out of work, I guess. I don't know. Some type of situation, accident, has stopped the traffic back there. And that's something else that I remember that they did last year when they had hired all of these extra people, right? Is they had, yep, they did it here too. Instead of letting people have the freedom to, to come in as usual, they try to control the flow and make people go through all of these loops and curves and, winding roads. Right? So yeah. Okay, I made it to the parking lot. I still have a whole half an hour to go. So, what it comes down to is intentions, right? Your intentions for a thing determine everything, right? And, I guess when it comes to God, it just comes down to two things. When did you stop listening to his voice? And who were you listening to? And I don't even know if they're going to be questions. They really may be just a statement. This is when you stop listening to me, and this is who you were listening to. Period. I mean, if we're talking about intentions, right? So when you listen to somebody else, it was your intention not to listen to God. Right? So, over here it's 38 degrees outside. And it's like I instantly felt the difference of this coldness. But of course, they're going to have it, extra hot inside. And then, there's even levels upon levels upon levels. And this is where you get into the fractals, right? If it's happening over here, there's a whole fractal that same situation is also manifesting and happening somewhere else. But also, the polar opposite is happening somewhere else too. So yeah, it has to balance out some kind of way. In order for something to exist, there also has to have a non-existence essence of that thing. So yeah, this is the first time I've used my my seat heater in this car, and I'm enjoying it, right? I'm enjoying it so much that I don't want to get out of the car. So yeah. I'm really hoping that, well, let me rephrase that. I'm really hoping and praying that, I'll have a productive day with no wrecks with anybody, and that there'll be so many people working today that I will be off of anybody's crosshairs, so that I can just do my time and be able to go home, and feel like, oh, this was a great day, What else did I want to talk about today? I talked about Genesis chapter 1. Chapter 1, verses 4, about the luminaries. I talked about the book of Daniel. And I also talked about Freemasons. I also talked about, how Satan, the devil, and Lucifer are three different entities. The one reason why religion only uses the word interchangeably is because, like I said, religion is just, the preliminary gateway to spirituality. If you don't have the concept and you don't want to seek, what difference does it make, to distinguish the difference between those three entities, when, all you want to know is that, those particular entities, are bad. And they're not welcome, for the most part, if you're trying to, live a life where you can feel safe, right? Most people, will give a testimony, that the only time, they felt safe or that they were able to relieve some of their pain was, through religion. So yeah. Um, Anything else? I think that's about it. So I think I'm going to shut it down here, and maybe I'll record when I get off work. Okay? Thank you for watching Cherie's Weight Loss Journey. Bye.